called Prayers for Little Children. Prayers for Little Children. It's an old book. Can't get rid of it. What's the copyright of this? It doesn't say what year this book was copyrighted. This is like an old book. A thank you prayer for love. We thank you, dear God, for all of us, and for all whom we love, for our fathers and mothers, for our brothers and sisters and babies. For our teachers and friends, we thank you, dear God, for all who love us, for all whom we love. Thank you for food. Thank you, God, for milk and bread and other things so good. Thank you, God, for those who help to grow and cook my food. At our house inside the door are many cozy things. The fire is warm and bright. All my toys are ready for my play. There's Mother dear and Daddy too. Their love and care, dear God, are just like you. In my yard, Mary came to play. She brought her doll and cradle and let me hold her dolly in my lap. And Grandma gave us cookies for our table. Our Father God, those friendly things make me think of you. I thank you, God. People who make me think of God. Dear God, there are some people who make me think of you. They are so kind and full of cheer. I like to feel that they are near. They make me think of you. Prayer without words. The world is very still, dear God. I'd like to softly pray. I have some lovely thoughts of you, but thoughts are hard to say. Yet you can even hear my thoughts, the thoughts I cannot say. You can love a little child who finds this way to pray. Thanks for eyes and ears. I thank you, God, for eyes to see a baby moon above a tree. I thank you, God, for ears to hear a thrilling bird song, sweet and clear. I'm glad. I've tried, dear God, to do my best. I've had a happy day. There's something sings inside of me and makes me want to pray. Thanks for our bodies. We thank you, dear God, for our bodies, even for we can jump and run, for we can move and run and jump, for we can speak, laugh, and sing, for we can work with our hands to make beautiful things. We thank you, dear God, for our bodies. Thanks for care. We thank thee, loving Father, for caring through the night and for the joy and gladness that come with morning light and evening prayer. Now the sun is gone to sleep and birds are in their nest, so I will thank you for my day, my busy day of work and play, then I will go to rest. For lovely things. We thank you, dear God, for all lovely things, for pretty flowers and the birds that sing, for butterflies, the green grass, and the trees, for the big shining sun, the twinkling stars, silver moon, the sunniest colors in the sky, and for the fleecy clouds. We thank you, dear God, for all these lovely things. Help me to help others. Help me, O God, to use my body and mind to find and serve those who need me. Help me, O God, to be kind and fair to all with whom I work and play. Help me, O God, to bring joy and love and happiness to everyone. A prayer for help. Dear God, I said some crosswords and quarreled today. Please help me think of kind words and pleasant ways to play. Forgive me, God. Forgive me, God, for things I do that are not kind and good. Forgive me, God, and help me try to do the things I should. Like Jesus. Dear God, I like to think of Jesus who was a child like me. Help me in all my play to try my best in every way and so like him to be. Thank God for work. My daddy went to work, but I stayed home to help. I dried the spoons, ran at the postman's ring, and built the baby's blocks until he laughed and crowed. I thank you, God, that there is work to do, that people need little helpers too. The end. The next book is called Full Moon Pups. Full Moon Pups. A wind whips up the forest, the sky is full of moon, and Mama Wolf is restless with her litter coming soon. Fox slips through the brambles while midnight shines on Owl. After many hours comes Mama's tired howl. The moon and the fox. Now here they are, her babies protected in their den. She licks them as they whimper and pulls them close again. These first few days they're nursing, they sleep and scooch and cry, with the wolf pack watching over like the moon does from the sky. The pups still blind, but crawling start to feel their way around. Teeny paws find roots and rocks, but hardly make a sound. A storm comes out of nowhere and the world swells wet and gray. For days the water rises, it will sweep the pups away. The older wolves come looping, gather pups up in their mouth, come lopping, gather pups up in their mouth, and take them far from danger, higher up and farther south. Safe in their new nursery, they open up their eyes underneath a moon that's whining just to scoop their way up high. Then it's gone completely. The sky is heavily black, not a sparkle of glimmer. Hackles rise upon arched backs. Noises come from everywhere. Who's hiding in the dark? A snap of branches, flashing of wings. The wolf pack bays and barks. The pups grow even older. They start to reach and range. What is that? And who is this? The whole wide world is strange. Days go by so quickly as they tussle, tumble high, their floppy ears begin to lift, their eyes shine bright and wide. Each night brings new surprises, a wrestle or a roar, a bite of meat from Mama, and moonlight more and more. Until it's full and round again, a promise made complete to this pack of waxing wolf pups who stand yipping at its feet. Voices high and necks outstretched, such mighty shadows thrown, but it will be many moons still till the pups are fully grown. The end. The next book is called Wimberly Worried. Wimberly Worried. Wimberly Worried. Wimberly worried about everything. Big things, little things, and things in between. Wimberly worried in the morning, she worried at night, she worried through the day. You worry too much, said her mother. When you worry, I worry, said her father. Worry, 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 said her grandmother. Too much worry. At home, Wimberly worried about the tree in the front yard and the cracks in the living room wall and the noise the radiators made. At the playground, Wimberly worried about the chains on the swing, the bolts on the slide, and the bars on the jungle gym, and always she worried about her doll, Petal. Don't worry, said her mother. Don't worry, said her father. But Wimberly worried. She worried and worried and worried. When Wimberly was especially worried, she rubbed Petal's ear. Wimberly worried that if she didn't stop worrying, Petal would have no ears left at all. On her birthday, Wimberly worried that no one would come to her party. See, said her mother, there was nothing to worry. But when Wimberly worried, there weren't. But then Wimberly worried that there wouldn't be enough cake. On Halloween, Wimberly worried that there would be too many butterflies in the neighborhood parade. See, said her father, there is nothing to worry about. But then Wimberly worried because she was the only one. You worry too much, said her father. When you worry, I worry, said her father. Worry, 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 said her grandmother. Too much worry. Soon Wimberly had a new worry, school. Wimberly worried about the start of school more than anything she had never worried about before. Poor Wimberly. Poor Wimberly. By the time the first day arrived, Wimberly had a long list of worries. What if no one else has spots? What if no one else wears stripes? What if no one else brings a doll? What if the teacher is mean? What if the room smells bad? What if they make fun of my name? What if I can't find the bathroom? What if I hate the snack? What if I have to cry? Ooh, look at all those worries. Don't worry, said her mother. Don't worry, said her father. But Wimberly worried. She worried and worried and worried. She worried all the way there. Poor Wimberly. While Wimberly's parents talked to the teacher, Mrs. Peachum, Wimberly looked around the room. Then Mrs. Peachum said, Wimberly, there is someone I think you should meet. Her name is Jewel. She was standing by herself. She was wearing stripes. She was holding a doll. Ooh, Jewel and Wimberly. The same. At first, Wimberly and Jewel just peeked at each other. This is Pearl, said Wimberly. This is Niblet, said Jewel. Petal waved, and Niblet waved back. Hi, said Petal. Hi, said Niblet. I rub her ears, said Wimberly. I rub her nose, said Jewel. Both of them worry a lot. Throughout the morning, Wimberly and Jewel sat side by side and played together. Whenever they could, Petal and Niblet sat side by side too. Wimberly worried, but no more than usual, and sometimes even less. Before Wimberly knew it, it was time to go home. Uh-oh. Come back tomorrow, called Mrs. Peachum as the students walked to the door. Wimberly turned and smiled and waved. I will, she said. Don't worry. The end. Wonders of the Forest. Wonders of the Forest. It is cool and dark in the forest. Here and there a thin ribbon of sunlight shines through the trees. A purple finch sings a pretty song. A bright-eyed chipmunk dashes across the ground. Below the understory are blueberry bushes, mountain laurel, and other shrubs. This part of the forest is called the shrubland. Here, forest animals find food and shelter. Many things grow on the forest floor. Ferns, moss, mushrooms, skunk cabbage, and wildflowers. This part of the forest is called the herb layer. Summer is a busy season in the forest. Trees use sunlight and rain to make the food they need to grow. These animals that live in the forest are so busy in the summer. A young fawn nibbles on sweet green plants. The mother doe stands close by. A snake glides along the ground. A salamander peeps out from under a rock, ready to capture a beetle. There are many insects living on and under the forest floor. Insects help keep the forest clean. A termite, which looks like a little white ant, is one of these cleaners. It tunnels into a fallen tree and lives there. It eats the dead wood. Another forest cleaner is a millipede. The millipede looks like a small brown worm with many parts of legs. Its favorite food is dead leaves. Earthworms eat bits of dead plants on and under the ground. They also dig tunnels in the ground. These tunnels keep the soil loose, which helps plants grow. Among the many plants in the forest, there is one that is not green. This is the strange-looking fungus plant. There are many different kinds of fungus plants. As a group, they are called fungi. The mushroom you eat is a kind of fungus. Most of the fungi in the forest are not safe for people to eat, although these same plants are safe for many forest creatures to eat. There are thousands of different fungi in the forest. The bracket fungi look like seashells growing on fallen trees. The Indian pipe is a waxy white plant that has teeny fungi growing on its roots. The fungi help it to get food from the soil. The more fungus, which is lacy head, grows on. The moral fungus with its lacy head grows on the ground. All fungi help turn rotting plants into rich soil where new plants will take root and grow. There are other living things on the forest floor. They are so small that we can't see them without a microscope. They are called bacteria. Bacteria help change dead animals and plants into minerals. Tree shrubs use these minerals to grow. Bacteria. The summer forest is filled with hum and buzz of insects and the whisper of wind through the leaves. A twig snaps under the paw of a fox. The sound scares a rabbit and sends it scooting away. Rabbits spend most of their summer days eating. They feed on fresh green leaves and twigs. The rabbit's soft fur is brown in the summer. When the winter comes, the fur will turn white. The white fur makes the rabbit hard to see in the snow, and it hides from enemies. Fox and rabbit. One of the rabbit's worst enemies is the fox. A clever hunter, the fox feeds on rabbits, mice, and other small animals. Fox pups are born in the spring. In a month, their parents begin to teach them the ways of the forest. The pups learn to climb trees, to hunt, and move quickly and quietly and quickly. Raccoons leave their nests at night to hunt. They like all kinds of food, small animals, toads and frogs, insects, worms, berries, and nuts. Most raccoon nests in tree holes. The autumn comes to the forest. The green leaves turn yellow, red, orange, and brown. Before long, they fall to the earth. Now sunlight shines through the forest branches. The days grow shorter, and the air is crisp and cool. The forest in... Whoa. Acorns rain from oak trees onto the forest floor. These nuts are a favorite food of most forest animals. Squirrels get ready for winter by burrowing thousands of acorns in the ground. They will dig up the acorns and eat them all through the cold months. But squirrels do not find every acorn they bury. Some of these acorns will take root and become oak trees next spring. Many birds leave the forest in autumn. They fly south to warmer places where there is food for them. This is called migration. When the last of the migrating birds leave the forest, winter is close at hand. The forest in winter is a cold, silent place. A blanket of snow covers the ground. A bright red cardinal perches on the green needle branch of a spruce tree. A soft-eyed deer chews the barks of a young birch tree. Birch. Animal tracks dot the snow. 4 teeny paw prints and a thin line made by the tail show where a deer mouse has passed. The black bear makes the largest paw print in the forest. The print is 9 inches long. Bear sleeps a lot in the winter. They may sleep for a few days or more than a week at a time. Then, if the day is not too cold, they wake up and leave their dens to look for food. When it gets cold again, they go back to sleep. Some animals sleep all winter long. This is called hibernation. Woodchucks and ground squirrels do this. They curl into a ball and do not wake up until warm weather returns. Winter is a hard time for trees and shrubs of the forest. Strong winds and icy storms snap their branches. Some trees and shrubs die because they cannot get water from the frozen soil. But in early spring, while the trees are bare and the patches of snow still lie on the ground, new plants begin to appear. Sunlight streams through the leafless branches, warming the soil. Wildflowers send up small green spikes. Spring brings color to the forest. Purple violets, rose-colored lady slippers, yellow touch-me-nots. This beauty lasts for a very short time before the green and browns of the forest take over. The days grow longer, the buds on the trees and shrubs start to open. Teeny pale green leaves appear. Well, when a female possum gives birth, her babies are so teeny that 20 could fit in a small spoon. When they are 10 weeks old, they will leave their mother's pouch and climb onto her back. She will carry them there until they are ready to be on their own. Every year, the forest grows and changes. A fire may burn down many huge oak trees, but soon young pine trees begin to rise where the oaks once stood. In the years to come, new oaks will take root and reach for the sunlight. One day they will take back the land from the pine trees, they will again make a canopy of leaves above the forest. Insects will eat the leaves, the birds will eat the insects, and the life of the forest will go on. The end. Long, long ago. Long, long ago. The great reptiles. Long, long ago, before people came, dinosaurs ruled the land. They were reptiles. Some reptiles flew through the air like birds, and the biggest was Pteranodon. Some reptiles lived in the water, like the great sea monsters. The fiercest of these was Tyrannosaurus. All kinds of dinosaurs. Dinosaurs came in all shapes and sizes. There were big dinosaurs that were slow. There were little dinosaurs that could run fast. Trachodon could walk on two legs like a person. Dimetrodon had a huge sail on its back to keep itself warm. Ankylosaurus had bony shells on its back to keep safe from its enemies. Triceratops used its horns when fighting. Dinosaur babies. Baby dinosaurs hatched from eggs. Their parents did not stay to care for them. Young dinosaurs had to look after themselves. They had to know what to eat. Many dinosaurs ate plants. Some dinosaurs stole dinosaur eggs to eat. Some dinosaurs ate other dinosaurs. T-Rex was the fiercest of all the dinosaurs. From dinosaurs to mammals. Slowly the world changed. It grew colder and colder. The plants the dinosaurs ate couldn't grow. There was not enough to eat. Gradually, dinosaurs disappeared. Without dinosaurs, the world was a safer place for mammals. Mammals ate less than dinosaurs, and they had better brains. They didn't mind the cold. They had fur coats and warm blood to keep them warm. Some unusual mammals. Long, long ago, there were many kinds of mammals that no longer live on Earth. Woolly mammoths were a bit like elephants. With their long, shaggy hair, they could live in very cold places. At the Cameloos was a very tall camel with a giraffe-like neck. Dawn horse was only as big as a cat. He is related to the horses we know today. The Moropus was a strange-looking animal. The Smilodon was fiercer than a lion. Early people. People are mammals too. The first people lived in caves. They made tools and spears from stone, wood, and bone. They made their clothes out of animal skin. Cave people built fires to keep themselves warm. They ate wild berries and plants and hunted animals for food. How do we know about the past? Scientists tell us a lot about what the world was like long, long ago. They find clues in the ground. They shift the soil and dig deep into rock to find out about the animals and people who lived millions of years ago. Scientists have found lots of tools and weapons made by early people. Sometimes when living things die, part of them are frozen in stone. We call these fossils. Whole skeletons have been put together from the bones of animals that no longer live on Earth. What do these things all tell us about long, long ago? The end. Wonders of the desert. Wonders of the desert. All day long, the sun beats down in the desert. The air above the sand and rock is hot and dry. Nothing moves. All is still. Can any plants and animals live in this harsh, dry land? Surprisingly, many do. Night is the time when the desert comes to life. At night, the starlit sky is clear. The heat of the day is gone. The air is very cool. Animals begin to stir. The first to appear are lizards and snakes hunting for food. The gecko lizard rests in the shade of a rock during the day, but after the sun sets, the gecko flicks out its sticky tongue to catch insects. Another kind of desert lizard is a chuckwalla. Chuckwalla walla. When the Chuckwalla is in danger, it squeezes into a narrow space between two rocks. Then it gulps so much air that it swells like a balloon. It is stuck so tightly between the rocks that no animal can move it. The Chuckwalla stays that way until danger is past. The fridge, the fringed-toed lizard protects itself in another way. The scaly edges on its toes make the lizard a speedy digger. If an enemy comes near, the fringed-toed lizard dives headfirst into the sand. It seems to swim out of sight in seconds. There's a chuckwalla. Like lizards, most desert snakes spend a hot day in the shade. The sidewinder, a small rattlesnake that lives in the North American desert, comes out in the late afternoon. The sidewinder got its name because it moves, whipping its body sideways. It's easy to tell where a sidewinder is passed. Its body leaves marks in the sand. It does not rain very often in the desert, but when rain does fall, some animals appear as if by magic. One of them is a spadefoot toad. As soon as the weather becomes dry again, the spadefoot burrows backward into the sand. It makes a snug home under the ground and goes to sleep. The spadefoot can sleep for almost a year. When there is a heavy spring rain, the spadefoot comes out and finds a newly made pond. The toad mates with another spadefoot and the female lays eggs. In just 1 or 2 days, the eggs hatch into tadpoles. In less than 4 weeks, they are grown. By this time, the desert sun has dried up the pond, and the spadefoots must go underground. Hundreds of different insects live in the desert. The black pinacate beetle is called the circus bug. Has a special way of dealing with enemies. It stands upside down and shoots out a bad smelling odor. P.U. The honeypot ant lives on nectar from desert flowers. A few honeypot ants eat this sweet liquid. Then they go back to their nest underground. They feed the nectar to other honeypot ants. These other ants become living food tanks for the whole colony. One of the most harmful creatures of the desert is the scorpion. It is usually 2 or 3 inches long and has a stinger at the tip of its tail. As soon as the scorpion has a victim in its claws, it raises its tail over its own back. Then it stabs its prey. Most scorpions are very poisonous. Newborn scorpions climb onto their mother's back and are carried everywhere for almost a week. Then they are old enough to catch their own spiders, ants, butterflies, and grasshoppers. One of the quickest desert animals is the roadrunner. This skinny bird, called the clown of the desert, runs swiftly to catch all sorts of insects and lizards. The roadrunner can move at a speed of 20 miles or 32 kilometers an hour. The roadrunner's foot has 2 toes that point on the front and 2 toes that point on the back. The bird leaves a trail of X's. You can always tell where the roadrunner has been, but you can't tell which way it was running. The Gila woodpecker and the elf owl that live in holes in the cactus plants. The woodpecker pecks a hole in the cactus with that is large enough for a nest. When the woodpecker moves to another cactus, the elf owl moves into the empty nest. The teeny elf owl is a very smart hunter. It grabs the stalk of a plant and hangs upside down from it. Then the owl beats its wings to shake the stalk. It drives out all the insects resting there. Now the owl has plenty of food. One of the biggest birds of the desert is the vulture. Flying high in the sky, the vulture has such fine eyesight that it can see for miles. When it scoops a dead animal far below, it swoops down by eating dead animals. Vultures help to keep the desert clean. The desert is home for many kinds of mice and rats. The kangaroo rat measures only 12 inches or 30 centimeters long, from the tip of its nose to the tip of its tail. It has short front legs and long back legs. It can jump more than 10 feet or 30 meters at a time. These teeny fellow, this teeny fella also uses those strange back legs to kick at enemies. Kangaroo rats live mostly on seeds. They stuff the seeds into pouches in their cheeks, then take them back to their cool burrows under the ground. The jackrabbit, like the rats and mice of the desert, does not drink much water. It gets all the water it needs from the plants it eats. When it is being chased, the jackrabbit can jump 15 feet or 4.4 meters in a single leap. One of the jackrabbit's enemies is a coyote. It has a bushy tail and looks much like a dog at night. The coyote's lonely howl carries over the desert. Desert skunks will eat just about anything, all kinds of fruit, insect, mice, birds, and dead snakes. Like its cousin who lives in the forest, the desert skunk protects itself by giving off a very smelly spray. The desert is also the home of badgers, ground squirrels, wild pigs, foxes, and bobcats, and lots more. Almost all desert animals are small. That is because there's not enough food and water in the desert for big animals to live on. All desert animals have special ways of surviving in the desert, and this is also true of desert plants. The best known desert plant is the cactus. Cactus plants have thick, shiny skin. They are covered with a kind of wax. Wax keeps the water inside the plant from drying in the hot sun. The thorns on a cactus protect it from hungry animals. There are so many types of yucca plants in the desert. Some are small and some are large. Yucca. Some are small and some are large, but some yuccas have long spiral-like leaves. The Joshua tree is the largest yucca. At least 25 kinds of birds build nests in the Joshua tree. Spring rains bring color to the desert. White daisies, pink primroses, purple verbenzas spring to life. But this beauty does not last long in the heat of the summer sun. Most desert trees send roots deep in the ground to find water. Roots of the mesquite tree can grow as far down as 100 feet or 30 meters. In the desert of North Africa, there are many palm trees. People eat the dates that grow on these trees. Then they grind the date pits to make a drink. Palm leaves are used to make baskets and stems to make rope. When a palm tree dies, the wood is used to build things and to make fires. Every part of the tree is used. Palm trees need a lot of water to stay alive. That is why they only grow where water is not too far down in the sand. A place in the desert where palm trees grow is called an oasis. People called nomads often wander from oasis to oasis. In fact, nomad means wanderer. Some nomads are shepherds, others are traders carrying things to sell. The nomads face very harsh conditions in North Africa's Sahara Desert, where sand dunes are hundreds of feet high and miles long. When a strong wind blows, the sand of the dunes fills the air. It's impossible for a person to see. In a sandstorm, travelers must stop and wait for the storm to end. Nomads are not as well suited to the desert as the animals they ride, the camel. The camel is the perfect desert animal. It moves easily over the sand on its wide feet. It has long lashes to keep sand out of its eyes. It can shut its nostrils to keep sand out of its nose. At an oasis, a camel can drink 25 gallons or 95 liters of water in only a few minutes. Then it is ready to go without water and food for many days. It does this by living off the fat of the hump on its back. The desert is a hard place to live in for people, animals, and plants. Yet there is beauty as the sun sets, purple and red over the windswept sand. There is beauty in the colors of the snakes and lizards and cactus flowers. And there is beauty in the flight of a hawk that soars far above the desert. It all makes the desert very special. The end. Fossils, the tale of long ago. Fossils, tale of long ago. Fossils, tale of long ago. Once upon a time, a huge fish was swimming around when along came a smaller fish. The big fish was so hungry it swallowed the other fish whole. The big fish died and sank to the bottom of the sea. This happened 90 million years ago. How do we know? We know because the fish turned to stone. The fish became a fossil. A plant or animal that turns to stone is called a fossil. Scientists can tell how old stones are. They could tell how old the fish fossil was. How did the fish become a fossil? Most animals and plants do not become fossils when they die. Some rot. Others dry up, crumble, and blow away. No trace of them is left. This could have happened to big fish. We would never know it had lived. Instead, the fish became a fossil. This is how it happened. When the big fish died, it sank to the bottom. When the big fish died, it sank into the mud at the bottom of the sea. Softly, the soft parts of the fish rotted away. Only its hard bones were left. The bones of the fish it had eaten were left too. The skeleton of the fish lay buried and protected deep in the mud. Thousands of years went by. More layers of mud covered the fish. Tons and tons of mud piled up. After a long time, the surface of the earth changed, and the sea where the fish was buried dried out. The weight of the layers of mud pressed down slowly. The mud turned to rock. As that happened, groundwater seeped through the changing layers of mud. Minerals were dissolved in the water. The water seeped into all the teeny holes of the fish bones. The minerals in the water were left behind in the fish bones. After a very long time, the bones turned to stone. The fish was a fossil. Some fossils, like the fish, are actual parts of plants or animals that have turned to stone. Sometimes a fossil is only an imprint of a plant or animal. Millions of years ago, a leaf fell off a fern-like plant. It dropped onto the swampy forest soil, which is called peat. The leaf rotted away, but it left the mark of its shape in the peat. The peat with the imprint of the layer hardened. Coal is a fossil too. These are dinosaur tracks. They were made in fresh mud 115 million years ago. Sand filled the dinosaurs' footprints in the mud. The sand hardened into a rock called sandstone. Millions of years later, fossil hunters dug through the rock. They found the fossil tracks, exact imprints of dinosaurs' foot. Not all fossils are found in stone. Some are found in frozen ground of the Arctic. This ancient mammoth was a kind of elephant. It froze to death thousands of years ago. The grass it had been eating was still in its mouth. Millions of years ago, a fly was caught in a sticky sap of a tree. The sap hardened and became a fossil called amber. Amber looks like yellow glass. The fly was perfectly preserved in amber. Other insects have been preserved in amber too. We've learned many things from fish, the fern, the fly, and the dinosaur tracks. Fossils us tell us about the past. Fossils tell us there once were forests where there are now deserts. Fossils tell us there once were forests where now there are deserts. Fossils tell us there once were seas where now there are mountains. Many lands that are cold today were once warm. We find fossils of tropical plants in very cold places. Fossils tell us about strange creatures that lived on Earth long ago. Not such creatures are alive today. They have all died out. We say they are extinct. Some fossils are found by scientists who dig for them. Some fossils are found by accident. You too might find a fossil if you look hard when you see a stone. Look at it carefully. It may be a fossil of something that once lived. How would you like to make a fossil? Not a 1 million-year-old fossil, a 1 minute-old fossil. Make a clay imprint of your hand. The imprint shows what your hand is like, the way a dinosaur track shows what its foot was like. Suppose when it dried out, you buried your clay imprint. Suppose 1 million years from now someone found it. Your imprint would be as hard as stone. It would be a fossil of your hand. It would tell the finder something about you. It would tell something about life on Earth 1 million years earlier. Every time someone finds a fossil, we learn more about life on Earth long ago. Someday you may find a fossil, one that is millions and millions of years old. You may discover something no one knows today. The end. Megatooth. The giant ancient shark that was even bigger than T-Rex. Megatooth. It was 10 million years ago. Mysterious beasts swam the ocean. Strange creatures walked the earth. It was a time of warm seas and steaming jungles. It was an age of giants. There were giant birds and giant horned turtles. There were huge beasts with strange heads, and there were cat-like hunters with giant saber teeth. Smilodon. There's a rhino. But in the age of the giants, one giant ruled the seas. There's the shark. Megalodon. There goes Megalodon. Megalodons were huge ancient sharks. They looked a lot like the great white sharks that are around today, only they were much bigger. Much bigger. There goes Megalodon. Compared with the Megalodon, the great white shark. Compared with the Megalodon, the great white is a shrimp. Megalodon, 50 feet. Human, 6 foot. Great white shark, 18 feet long. There's Megalodon. The Megalodon was even bigger than T-Rex. T-Rex, 45 feet long, 5 to 7 tons. Megalodon, 50 feet long, 40 to 70 tons. A big giant shark had big teeth. The name Megalodon means giant tooth, and these big giant teeth were in a huge set of jaws. There's a big Megalodon tooth. How do we know how big Megalodons were? Well, it's pretty just a guess. The only fossils ever found of these extinct sharks are a few vertebrate and some teeth, lots of teeth. This is the view of an inside of a shark's mouth. Shark's teeth begin to grow on the inside of the jaw. As they grow, they move toward the front of the jaw and are evenly shed. The shark produced many teeth throughout their lives, and sharks produce many teeth throughout their lives, and they are constantly shedding the older ones. These teeth drop to the seafloor, and some of them become fossilized. A fossil megalodon tooth looks much like a modern great white shark tooth, only about 3 times bigger. So we think that megalodon probably looked something like great whites, but were about 3 times bigger, not actual size. And what did a shark as big as megalodon eat? Whales. Whales started to evolve from land mammals about 55 million years ago. Over millions of years, whales became bigger and bigger. Some scientists hold on, guys. Some scientists think that this was the reason the megalodons evolved to be bigger and bigger. They needed to be gigantic to feed on their gigantic prey. Other giants have roamed the seas, but none were as terrifying as megalodons. Scientists think that Megalodon died off about 2 million years ago. The Earth's climate began to get cooler at this time, and so did the oceans. Perhaps the giant sharks just couldn't adjust to the cold waters. Poor shark. Some people think that maybe the Megalodons never died off. After all, perhaps they are still out there. We just haven't noticed them yet. This chart shows when different kinds of ancient animals lived. At the end of the Mesozoic era, all the dinosaurs had died off. The land was left for the mammals to take over. Some call the Mesozoic era the age of reptiles and the Cenozoic era the age of mammals. But sharks of one kind or another swam the seas during both eras. Maybe both are called the age of sharks. The end. Okay. Silas's 7 grandparents. Silas's 7 grandparents. Each of Silas's 7 grandparents has something special to offer. Silas's 7 grandparents. Most of the time, Silas liked having 7 grandparents. Most of the time, having 7 grandparents made Silas feel specially loved 7 times. Silas's 7 grandparents gave him presents on his birthday. 6 grandparents baked birthday cakes, and 1 brought an ice cream cake. But sometimes Silas couldn't eat all his cake. After all, I only have 1 stomach, said Silas. Oh boy. Silas's 7 grandparents came to his hockey games. 5 grandparents cheered and 2 coached his team. But sometimes even grandparents couldn't fit in. But sometimes 7 grandparents couldn't fit in the dressing room. After all, I only have 1 pair of skates to lace. Silas's 7 grandparents helped take care of Silas when he was sick. 1 rubbed his back, 2 fed him chicken soup, 4 sang softly to him. But sometimes 7 grandparents tripsing in and out made too much commotion. After all, I only want to sleep, said Silas. Poor Silas. Silas's 7 grandparents took him on outings over the July long weekend. 2 took him camping, 2 took him to the dog show, 2 took him to the dinosaur museum, and 1 rode the roller coaster with him at the amusement park. But sometimes Silas couldn't keep up with his 7 grandparents. After all, I'm only one small boy, said Silas. And when Silas's mom and dad decided to go away for a few days on a business trip, 7 grandparents invited Silas to stay with them. Come stay with me, Silas and Nana. Silas's Nana was a scientist. She lived in a loft in the city. Her ceiling looked like the night sky. We'll go to the planetarium and sit on the roof. I need you to help me count shooting stars. Every night at bedtime, she made a wish on the star Nana had hung above his bed especially for him. Come stay with us, said Oma and Opa. Silas's Oma and Opa grew all kinds of things to eat in their market garden. Saskatoons, raspberries and strawberries are ripe. We need you to help bake bumbleberry pies and build a doghouse for Laddie's 5 new pups. Every night at bedtime, Silas filled the bird feeder outside his window, the one Opa had made especially so the birds could visit him in the morning. Then he snuggled into his quilt, the one Oma had made especially to keep him warm. Come stay with us, said Grandmama and Papa. Silas, Grandmama, and Papa lived by a golf course. You can swim in the pool and play golf with us. We need you to drive the golf cart. Every night at bedtime, Silas's father read him a story from the book Grandmama and Papa had sent him, the one they chose especially to give him sweet dreams but about far-off adventures. There's his grandparents. Come stay with us, said Granny and Granddad. Silas's granny and granddad lived by a lake in the foothills. We'll take you to a powwow and go fishing and canoeing. We need you to help us paddle. Every night at bedtime, Silas twirled the dream catcher Granny and Granddad had given him, the one especially made to keep bad dreams away. There's a common loon. Eat snakes. I can't stay with all 7 grandparents at the same time, said Silas. You'll have to choose, said his mother. Your grandparents know you can't be everywhere at once. After all, there's only one Silas. That night, Silas couldn't sleep. He was still awake when the moon drifted by his window. The man in the moon peeked into Silas's room. Moonbeams played hide and seek in his bird feeder. Moonbeams streamed across his storybook and danced in and out of the dream catcher. Moonbeams twinkled off his star so that glimmers of light tumbled all over his quilt and wrapped in a glittering hug from his head to his toes. Silas felt especially loved sometimes 7 times 7. Silas laughed. "Thank you," he said to the man in the moon. You give me an especially good idea." What idea does Sallis have? What do you think? The next morning, Sallis colored and painted. He cut and glued and glittered. He printed and folded and stamped. Then he mailed his especially good idea to his 7 grandparents. Ooh, what do you think it is? On the day his parents left on their business trip, Sallis waited on his front porch. Soon, Oma and Opa's truck chugged up the house. "Hello, Sallis," said Oma and Opa. Behind them, Granny and Gran's camper swung into the driveway. "Hey, partner," called Granny and Granddad. Grandma and Papa Grandmama and Papa beeped their car horn as they parked out front. "Hi, Sallis," called Grandmama and Papa. Finally, Nana rode up on her bicycle. "Hello, Sallis," called Nana with a grin. Sallis's parents ran outside to see what all the hubbub was about. "What on earth?" they said. "I can't stay with all 7 grandparents at the same time, Sallis, but all 7 grandparents can stay with me." Ooh, sounds good to me. So they did. 7 grandparents took care of Sallis while his parents were away. On the first day, 7 grandparents baked bumbleberry pies, built a doghouse mansion with Sallis. On the second day, 7 grandparents swam in the pool and rode golf carts with Sallis. On the third day, 7 grandparents danced at a powwow, fished and paddled canoes with Sallis. And on the last day, 7 grandparents went to the planetarium and stayed up late to count shooting stars with Sallis. But sometimes 7 grandparents weren't enough to keep up with one Sallis. Ooh. "After all," whispered Sallis as he tucked them in, "I'm especially loved 7 times." The end. The Call of the Wolves. The call of the wolves. The Call of the Wolves. The young wolf sat on a rock, sniffing the raw wind intently. He could pick out the sticky sweet smell of a spruce tree and the pungent odor of an Arctic fox, but the strongest smell was of approaching snow. Without warning, one of the pups from his pack knocked him from his rock. A second pup joined the playful fight and nipped at its fur. The wolf allowed the pups to charge into him. They weighed only 40 pounds, much too small to really hurt him. Besides, it was his turn to watch them while their parents rested. Just then, a piercing howl interrupted their play. 50 yards away, the oldest male was pacing nervously back and forth. He went back and forth, his body stiff, his ears rambled toward. He stopped to look toward the mountains. Then he raised his head and howled. His mate joined him, and their voices blended in the eerie, sad call. The young wolf saw that what was troubling them. The caribou herd, their source of food, was a gray, shaggy smudge on the horizon. The caribou had also smelled the snow and were moving to a new feeding ground. The young wolf trotted over to the older wolves. The pups ran after him, yapping and tripping over each other. Another winter had come to the Arctic, and the wolf pack would follow the caribou. Okay, here we go. For 8 days, the wolves trailed the caribou. The oldest male and female took turns leading. Both were 6 years old and knew the easiest routes. The young wolf was only 2 and not very experienced at finding trails. He would watch the pups and make sure they did not wander far from the pack. The train the terrain was steeper and more dangerous. Snow began falling. Near the mountain, the pack came to a stream. One at a time, the wolves leaped across. On the other side, they entered a forest of tall trees. The young wolf could smell food all around, a delicious mix of beaver, berries, mice, and chipmunk. At last they came to a long, thin lake a half a mile away. The caribou had gathered in an area filled with trees, plants, and berries. The caribou had found their winter food. The wolves would stay near the caribou. There they go. There they are. Caribou right here. The pack located a rock overhang where they could. The pack located a rock overhang where they would be sheltered from the snow. They rested, but at dusk they were up again. The journey had left them with a gnawing hunger and were eager to hunt. Down to the snowy woods they glided, heads low to the ground, eyes sparkling, taking in every detail. The powerful odor of the caribou drew them on, directing them in a few moments. The caribou came into view. The herd had moved to a flat, open space at the tip of the lake, from where they could see the wolves moving toward them. Quickly, the caribou pulled together in a protective circle. Circle. Quickly. What is it, Ronald? Quickly pulled together in a protective circle, the adults on the outside of the young and sick in the center. Hold on. I'll be right back, guys. I'm not stopping the live. What pen you need? Hold on. What pen? Back to what I gotta do.
Turn the light off.
What?
You turn it on, turn it off.
I'm not finished in here anyway.
I'm with this light.
You turned it on, not me.
I didn't even get up. I'm still laying in the bed. How can I turn the light on?
There you go. Thank you. I'm back, guys. It's just trying to do stuff. Okay. I'm back now. Okay. Wolves spread out since a healthy caribou could not Since a healthy caribou could outrun a wolf, the pack had to pick the right animal. The young wolf circled cautiously. He studied the face of each caribou. It did not take him long to spot a sickly animal. The other wolves saw the same caribou and moved toward it. At first, the wolves walked slowly, then they increased their speed to a gently trot. The next second, the wolves burst into a 40-mile-per-hour sprint. The entire caribou herd turned to flee, their hooves kicking up large clots of dirt and snow. At the same moment, a plane loaded with illegal hunters zoomed over the treetops. Uh-oh. A series of sharp, angry shots rang out from the plane. The noise frightened the caribou and made them charge back at the wolves. Within moments, the young wolf found himself in a confusion of snarling, frantic animals. He searched for the rest of the pack, but saw only charging legs. To his right, he spotted a silver of light headed for the opening. He broke free of the stampeding caribou, only to find a plane coming after him. More shots were fired. He dodged left then right, his paws a blur, ran from the lake. But instead of finding safety, the young wolf was running toward a sheer cliff and open sky. Behind him was the plane. He had nowhere to flee to, no other choice. Without hesitating, the wolf launched himself off the cliff. Uh-oh, poor wolf. He sailed into the air, then he began dropping down, down. He fell, his legs still running. A second later, he crashed into the mountain of branches and snow. The impact crippled his rear leg under him. He yelped in pain, but he couldn't stop. The plane was roaring toward him. He tried to run, but each step sent a painful stab up his leg. He shifted his weight so he could run on 3 legs. His speed increased. Just before the plane reached him, he made it into the protection of the trees. The wolf kept running through the forest away from the terrible sound of the plane. Finally, darkness and the pain forced him to stop. He wanted to search for his pack immediately, but he was afraid of the humans. Instead, he curled up in a tight, warm ball to sleep, alone in the white silence. Poor wolf. At dawn, the wolf shook off the snow that had piled up on him. Then he peered out from under the tree and searched for the hunters. Except for the snow, the sky was empty. Except he limped into the snow and let out a long, lonely howl. There was no answering call. He had to find his pack all the day. All the day, the wolf struggled through the snow. It wasn't until late in the afternoon that something moved in the distance. He studied it, was able to make out its ghostly shape of a wolf. A second wolf appeared. Was this his pack? He was about to approach it, but didn't. 2 other adult wolves had come into view. The young wolf had trespassed into another pack's territory, and if these wolves saw that he was injured, they would follow him, hoping for an easy kill. He flattened his ears down in a scared way. Uh-oh, poor wolf again. The storm grew worse, and the wolf had to use his chest to plow through the snow. He was tired, and his breathing came low, throaty panting. He turned to see if the wolves were tracking him. At first, he saw nothing. Then, far off, the forest came alive with sulking shadows and glowing eyes. He did not wait to rest. 2 hours later, the wolf detected a familiar odor. Food. It was dark. The wolves were somewhere behind him, but it had also been many days since he'd eaten. He moved toward the food. Uh-oh, poor wolf. The food sent him over a hill. More odor came to him. There was a wood smoke, metal, wet fur, and something that reminded him of the hunters. All were troubling and confusing, but he did not stop. Food was too close. He came around an untended tree. Ahead he saw a teeny cabin, a spot of light. Nothing moved or threatened him, but the strange light made him hesitate. He inched forward one cautious step at a time, his eyes probing the dark for details. He raised his paw to take another step. Suddenly, the snow next to him exploded, and a sled dog leaped at him, his teeth bared and snarled. Other mounds erupted. The angry dog strangling their chains to get at him. The young wolf sprang from the snarling dogs and fled into the cold night. Uh-oh, poor wolf. Toward the morning the storm lessened, and the wolf grew nervous. The other wolves were getting closer. In the light, the hunters might see him. Then he heard rushing water. He found in the stream. The rocks were ice-covered and slippery, so the wolf had to creep along the edge. The water splashed and roared over the rocks, tumbling and churning below the falls. The rocks stuck out of the water like jagged black teeth. The brick of the other pack grew louder. Barking of the other pack grew louder still. The pain of the young wolf's leg made him pause. A sudden growling behind him forced him in act. He fixed his eyes on the opposite side, tensed his muscles, and jumped. His foreclaws touched the rock and dug in, but his rear legs splashed into icy water. The water tugged at him and tried to pull him under. His legs fought to hold on. Finally, with one giant heave, he pulled himself out of the water. Oh no. Behind him, the other wolves had almost reached the water's edge. Soon they would leap across and be one on him. The young wolf pushed himself up and started to run, only to find the path in front blocked by two wolves. He froze, had the other wolves circled around to cut off his retreat. All of a sudden, two pups came charging into the open, barking wildly. He's done it. He'd found his way home to his pack. Before the young wolf could take another step, his pack ran past him, challenging the other pack. Then the wolves saw them. They turned and fled across the snowy landscape. The young wolf sprinted the short distance to his pack. He slowed to a walk and sniffed to show he was friendly. But the pups did not wait for the young wolf to greet the adults. They sprang at him in a frenzy of affection, knocking him to the ground, stumbling all over him, licking his face and nipping at his ears. The oldest male and female raised their heads and howled a greeting. The young wolf and the pups howled too, their call drifting through the forest, over the hills and snow for many miles. Every animal who heard the call of the wolves knew that the pack was together again. The end. Next book is called The Chicken Who Flew to Canada by A.B. Alexander. Chicken Who Flew to Canada by A.B. Alexander. Once, not so long ago, there lived a rooster named Ken. He was a handsome Rhode Island red with red, black, and golden feathers. Ken lived with his mom and his brothers and sisters on a small farm in Greenbelt, Maryland. They all lived together with their uncles and aunts and a cousin in a cozy chicken home. On a cold fall night, Ken with his sisters and brothers would huddle around their mom. All of a sudden, his mom sat upright. Ken was a light sleeper and woke up too. "What's the matter, Mom?" he asked. "They've arrived," Mom replied. "Now go back to sleep." Next morning, as usual, Tom, the father's son, came to open the door. All of them ran out, helter-skelter, to the feeding spot. Tom scattered grain from a small pail. They circled excitedly around him, gobbling up the food. All except Ken, Tom's pet. He ate from Tom's hand, and then he hopped on Tom's shoulder to sing, "Oh, what a beautiful morning, oh, what a beautiful day." Ken had not forgotten what his mom had said. Who had arrived? Could it be them? He wondered. After breakfast, everyone else hurried to the far end of the farm to hunt for more food. Ken did not join them this morning. Instead, he raced to the chain-link fence and looked toward the lake. There they were, a whole gaggle of Canadian geese. They were the guests from Canada that his mom had told him about days earlier. How beautiful they are, tan, white, and black, and they look so strong. One of them stood apart by herself on one foot, tidying her feathers with her beak. How graceful, thought Ken. Just then she turned and saw Ken. Ken blushed. He wished he could hide. But before he could move, she was already flying towards him, and she landed gracefully on his side of the fence. Ken felt shy. "I'm Ken," he shuddered, "and I'm Helen. Glad to meet you," she replied. Her voice was like music, and she was as beautiful as she was friendly. "Glad to meet you, too. Are you from Canada?" asked Ken. "Yes, I am. Amazing country far up north. And you, are you from hereabouts?" "Yes, I'm from here. Yes, I'm from here, from Greenbelt," replied Ken shyly. But Helen couldn't stay long. She had to fly back to the lake shore for a team meeting. Ken, all excited, ran to join his group on the other side of the farm. They met again the next morning. "Why don't you come over this side?" asked Helen. "The fence is too high. I can't fly," Ken replied. "You can't fly?" Helen was surprised. "No, we chickens don't fly." Ken was embarrassed. "What? You are a bird, for crying out loud. Birds fly. I don't think I can. I've never tried," Ken said uneasily. You'll never know unless you try," said Helen. That night, while Mom cuddled him, he asked, "Mama, can we chicken fly?" Mama looked at him for a long time. "Who put that idea in your head? What is it?" Was it Helen? Ken was surprised. "How did Mom find out?" Mom knew everything. "Yes, Mama. Helen told me all birds could fly," he replied. "Well, we are birds too, and once upon a time we flew." "Mama, can I be a flyer?" asked Ken. "You can be whatever you want to be. Only be careful," Mom replied with a smile. "Thank you, Mama. I'll be careful. Canadian geese are different, but they are good folks, and there is so much we can learn from them," said Mama. The very next day, Ken made his first try. He faced the tall fence. It looked so very high. Helen waited on the other side. Ken moved towards the fence and took off, but as he got closer to the fence, he knew he was not going to make it over. He turned sharply to the left and landed on his own side of the fence. Helen ran up and spoke to him from her side of the fence. "Don't worry, it was your first attempt. We'll try again, and we'll win the next time. Never, not for a moment, think that any fence is too high for you." Ken tried again. This time he pawed the ground like Ken tried. Oops, sorry about that. Here's a picture of Ken, his owner, and the Canadian geese. Goose in the Rhode Island Red. And there's his mama in the chicken coop at night. And there he is trying to fly, and there's the goose, Canadian goose. This time he pawed the ground like an impatient bull. He was determined to defeat the fence. This time he ran as fast as he could, beating his wings vigorously. He was in the air again like the last time, but this time he kept going up and up and up. He sailed clear over the fence and landed on the other side. He had done it. Helen was equally thrilled. "Well done. What did I tell you? You can fly." He flew over the fence again, this time with ease, but Ken's first real test happened the next day. He and Helen went to the nearest oak tree. "Get up to the topmost branch and jump," suggested Helen. "This is a piece of cake," Ken thought as he hopped from branch to branch, higher to the next higher one. Soon he had reached the very top. He looked down and was immediately terrified. Helen was so far down he looked no bigger than a sparrow. His heart came to his mouth. Ken trembled in front. He stepped forward to jump, but moved back. He did the same thing once again. "Jump, just jump," urged Helen. Ken really did not want to, but he knew he had to. Having come this far, he could not turn back. Finally, Ken jumped, and he fell like a stone. "Flap your wings," yelled Helen. Ken obeyed. He flapped his wings. When he did, instead of falling, he floated. Then he started rising. Ken was thrilled. He was actually flying. He made a left turn and flew in a circle around the oak tree. Then he turned right and made a bigger circle in the opposite direction. There's Ken the Rhode Island Red. When he landed, he was over the moon. He had actually flown. He could not believe it. Helen came over and gave him a hug. She was so happy as Ken. "But you did it. But I never doubted that you could." Ken was so happy he decided to fly again. No trees this time. He took off from the grass and kept climbing steadily up. Soon he was above the tree. Ken was surprised to hear his name being called. He turned and saw Helen flying alongside him. They smiled at each other. This was so much fun. From then on, Helen and Ken flew together every day. They slowly extended their flying, first to Greenbelt Lake and then to the more distant Lake Artemisia. Then, even farther away, they flew together everywhere, and Ken improved his skills day by day. He learned new tricks. Practice made Ken a better flyer. So Mom hugged him tonight. So Mom hugged him tight one night and told him, "Son, I'm proud of you. You have done what no one else in our clan has done. I'm so happy. Keep flying high." Me and Goose and Brown Red. "Come meet my family," Helen said one day. Ken was taken back. "No, I can't. I'm different. We don't look the same. I don't speak your language," Ken replied. But Helen would have none of it. "Really? How then are we talking to each other right now? It doesn't bother either of us that you are not a Canadian Goose. I'm not a Rhode Island Red. How we look and the way we talk do not matter at all. We are who we are, and that is all that matters. We are all equal members of this one big world family." Helen was right. Her group was friendly and welcoming. Ken's nervousness disappeared after the very first minute. "This is Deborah, our team leader. She was our leader last year. This is her fifth trip to Greenbelt. This is her fifth trip to Greenbelt. Deborah was gracious and kind. Ken, we've heard good things about you. Your flying skills, welcome." Helen introduced Ken to her parents, David and Nora. Later that night, he told Mom all about his visit. "You were right about Helen's folks, Mom. They were so nice. I felt completely at home with them." Mom smiled. "Canada geese are exceptional. They fly thousands of miles every year. They live free. They are hardworking. Both the father and the mother take care of the children together. They are loyal, disciplined, and orderly. See how they fly in a perfect V, swapping their positions to help each other." Ken and Helen became the best of friends. When Helen had to be with her group for team's sakes, Ken could not wait for her to come back. If Ken was on the far side of the farm, Helen missed him. Their love was mutual. Helen loved Ken because he was a trier. Ken admired Helen for her travels and for her knowledge of the world. The best part, they both loved singing, and they sang well together. Among their favorite songs were "This Land Is Your Law," "High Hopes," "Yellow Submarine," "I Get Up Early in the Morning." Yellow submarine, the yellow submarine. The seasons changed. Winter was on the wane. Spring would come soon. And Ken and Helen were resting after a flight one day. The weather was lovely. Blue skies and fluffy white clouds. Life seemed just perfect. Then Helen said, "In a few weeks I'll fly back to Canada." "That's so sad," said Ken. "I'll miss you." "Must you go?" "I'll miss you too, but I've got to go back," replied Helen. Ken could not hide his sadness. His red comb drooped. Then Helen had an idea. She was all excited about it. "Why don't you come to Canada with us? We can be together forever. We'll never have to be apart." "How do you think I can do that? Catch a plane? No, silly. You will fly with me." "With my team?" replied Helen. "What? You must be joking," said Ken. "No, I'm serious. You're now as good a flyer as me." The more he thought about it, the more excited he became. "This is a crazy idea, but I'm willing to try. I want to travel with you, Helen, and I want to see Canada. I'll ask Mom." Mom was not surprised. I knew this was coming. "I'll miss you if you go. You're the best son any mother could ask for," she added. "If you want the world, go see all you can, learn all you can, be at peace with everyone you meet and with the whole universe. Do not harm any living being or even anything non-living. Be all you can be the very best you can be." At the night's team meeting, Helen asked if Ken could join them on their trip back home. At first, some were against the idea and said, "No way, no chicken is going to fly with me." But Deborah did not agree. She said, "Let's not say no. Just because Ken is different from us, we have a long way home. What we need to look at is whether Ken can fly like the rest of us." And the answer to that was yes. Ken could fly like the best of them. There was no doubt about that. Deborah made her decision. Ken is welcome to join us if he wants to, but he will need to train harder and be prepared for the long flight to Canada. And that's exactly what Ken did. He trained hard. He flew with Helen and her group every day. On most days, they did not fly too far, but once a week they did. They flew to the Chesapeake Bay, the Eastern Shore, Pennsylvania, Virginia, and even West Virginia. Ken loved the V formation. They always gave him the easy spot, the left or the right wingtip. Helen always flew next to him. There they are. There they are. And there they are singing. There they are meeting the family. There they are flying. And there he is going up a tree. And there he is going over the fence. You all saw that. Okay. Ken joined the team meeting. He felt he was one of them. They were all one team. They had one goal. They had a safe and happy flight to Canada. It was getting close. It would be any day now. Then Deborah announced at a team meeting, "Team, how about we start in 6 days, the next Monday?" Ken was excited, but also a little anxious. There he is. The big day finally came. Ken said goodbye to his mom and his family and friends. It wasn't easy saying goodbye, but it was time to go. He flew down to the lake and looked back one last time. The farm looked beautiful in the setting sun. He would be away for a long time. He missed his mom already. All was busy preparing for the long flight. All were busy preparing for the long flight, stretching their wings, flexing their muscles. A little later, Deborah flapped her wings and announced, "We'll all start in 15 minutes. Now's the time for the last bit or sip of water. Our next stop will be Pennsylvania. Come, let us all sing together before we start." With which much feeling they sang, "Oh, Canada." Then for Ken, the Star-Spangled Banner. The adventure of a lifetime was about to begin. They all lined up along the shoreline. Deborah was at the center. Ken was at the very right edge with Helen next to him for his left. Ken forward pawed the ground patiently like he did before he first flew over the chain link fence. The countdown began. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and off they were. Deborah took off first, then the ones to her left and right, then the next two, then the two on either side. Then it was Helen's turn. About 10 seconds later, Ken's. The V climbed and climbed over the trees, then over the hillocks, then up through the low clouds. The flying got easier as they rose higher. Up and up they went. Far below, the town of Greenville looked like a box of matches. Dusk was falling. The lights below were coming on. The air was clean and pure. Ken drank in lungfuls of fresh air. He was happy. He was on his way to Canada with Helen. In fact, Ken was so happy he began singing, "Ain't no mountain high enough." Helen turned to look at Ken and smiled. Ken smiled back. He was never happier. Their story lives on. May the Ken in all of us aim to fly high always, and may the Helen in each of us lift up others we meet along the way. The end. Richard Scarry's Best Ever Colors and Shapes. Richard Scarry's Best Ever Colors, Shapes, and Numbers sticker and poster book. Richard Scarry's best ever colors, shapes, and numbers sticker and poster. Colorful cars. Colors make everything bright. Do you know your colors? Of course. Orange. Can you see orange? Can you see an orange dump truck? What color is Mr. Frumble's pickle car? What color is the ice cream on top of the ice cream van? I wonder what flavor it is. Red. Can you see a red truck? See a red fire truck? What color is the blue? What color is the police car? Purple. Can you see a purple? Can you see a purple spots car? Can you see a purple? Can you see a purple sports car? Yellow. What color is the garbage truck? White. What color is the ambulance? Black. Can you find a black scooter? Mixing colors. Look at these clever children mixing paint. They are mixing their very own colors. Blue and yellow make green. The children are helping Huckle mix paint. Can you find the stickers that make the color green? Red and white make pink. Can you find the sticker with the mixture mixing pink paint? Yellow and red make orange. Can you find the orange paint sticker? Blue and red make purple. Can you find the sticker with the children mixing purple paint? Oh, Vincent is painting Papa's coat. Oh dear. What a great painting of a fire truck. Aren't they clever children? What a lot of colors there are. Black and white make gray. Look at those children helping to mix paint for the train. They are very helpful. Can you find the stickers that make the color gray? Lots of shapes. Shapes can be found in everything. Do you know your shapes? Square. What shape is Huckle Cat holding over his head? Circle. What shape is Squeaky Mouse looking at? Star. What shape is Sally Cat holding? Oval. Can you see an oval? Diamond. What shape is Huckle Cat holding? Cubes. Can you see only cubes? How many? Cylinder. What shape is Huckle's disguise? Rectangle. What shape are the two bugs holding? Cone. What shape is lowly worm wrapped around? Triangle. Can you find a triangle? My picture will have lots of shapes. Finding shapes. What shapes can you see in the middle of the playing field? Can you see 3 triangles? Can you see 4 round wheels? Can you see any triangles on the lake today? What shape is the flag of Greenberg that Greenberg is holding? Can you see a round ball? Can you see a diamond in the field? Look at all those black and white shapes. What shapes are they? Counting from 1 to 10. Numbers are for counting. Counting can be fun. Can you count to 10? Of course you can. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1. Can you count one good pig brushing his teeth? 2. How many wet sponges are on the floor? Three little hungry pigs are waiting for breakfast. How many flying eggs can you count? 4. How many flying toasts are flying? 5. Clang, clang, clang. From the school bus, Huckle can see 5 fire trucks speed by 6. How many children are riding in the school bus? 7. How many airplanes are flying in the sky? That's right, 7. 8. Wow, look at all those speedy boats. How many are out today? 9. Look out, grumpy pigs. Here come 9 mouse buggies that can. What else can you count 9 of? 10. How many grumpy pigs can you count? I wonder why the grumpy pigs are so grumpy. I know my colors, shapes, and numbers. What color are the apples? What shapes are the eggs? Can you count all the food the children are eating? Of course you can. Good for you. The end. Disney Princess Dreams. Belle's dream of adventure. Before she met the Beast, Belle lived in a small town where every day was the same. She would spend all her free time dreaming of adventures and faraway places. Belle often found an escape in books. As she turned the pages, she imagined herself in other lands full of excitement. So when the Beast gave her his library, Belle spent hours reading book after book. The Beast's gift helped Belle see his kind heart, and Belle began to realize her life had become an adventure just like the one she'd read about. She met talking objects and magical evenings with the Beast and fell in love. Adventures are tiring at the end of each day. In the castle, Belle loved nothing more than to change into her cozy nightgown, pick out a good book, and dream about what tomorrow would bring. Jasmine's dream of freedom. Jasmine lived in a land of wonder, but she was never allowed to leave her palace. She often dreamed of the world outside. So one night, Rob helped her over the palace wall, and Jasmine disappeared into the night. When Jasmine met Aladdin in town, he had no idea that she was a princess. They both shared dreams of feeling free. Later, when Aladdin found a magic carpet, he knew just what he wanted to do for Jasmine. Disguised as a prince, Aladdin showed up at the palace one night and whisked Jasmine away on the magic carpet. They flew over the city, past the moon, and through the puffy clouds. During their magical ride, Jasmine discovered a whole new world full of mystery and beauty. With Aladdin by her side, Jasmine learned that no dream is out of reach. Rapunzel's dream of wonder. Like Jasmine, Rapunzel never knew the world outside the tall tower that was her home. Every day on her birthday, Rapunzel watched lights float into the night sky. She dreamed of one day learning what they were. In the meantime, Rapunzel filled her days painting beautiful murals of the things she had seen in the world, seen from her window. When a mysterious stranger named Flynn appeared in the tower, Rapunzel knew just what to do. She asked him to take her to see the lights. There were lots of crazy adventures along the way, but Flynn made sure Rapunzel had a front row seat to see the lights. As Rapunzel looked into Flynn's eyes, she realized dreams do come true. Do you have a special dream? The end. If Only I Had a Green Nose by Max Lucado. If Only I Had a Green Nose by Max Lucado. Luca and Luca and Punchinello looked out the window of Eli's workshop. Like other Wemmicks, they were wooden people, but unlike the other Wemmicks, they weren't standing in line in the village below. Look at them all, Punchinello explained. I don't understand it. Luca wondered. Why would anyone want to paint his nose? Eli responded without looking up from his workbench. Punchinello didn't understand. What do you mean? Everyone wants to look like everyone else. Sometimes it's square hats. Sometimes it's tall shoes. Why, last year the big thing was yellow ears. Now it's green noses. Everyone wants a green nose. Does a green nose make them smarter? Punchinello asked. No. Does a green nose make them stronger? No. Does it make them faster? No. Then what does a green nose make them? Eli looked up and smiled greener. His smile left as he looked out the window at the long line of mimics. They think they'll be happier if they look like everyone else. But I made them different on purpose. Freckles, long noses, bright eyes, dark eyes. These were my ideas. Now they all want to look the same. Not me, said Luca. I'm happy just the way you made me. Me too, agreed Punchinello. I don't need a green nose to feel special. Me too, said Punchinello. Then he paused and looked at the village. But I would like to see how a green nose looks close up. Want to go? There they are. Eli smiled as the two stood to leave. Just remember I made you different on purpose, he told them. From street level, the line looked even longer. The noses even greener. Luca and Punchinello worked their way to the front of the crowd and watched as one mimic after another stepped into the nose coloring store and came out painted. It's the best thing, barked Wemmick on the sidewalk. Don't be the only Wemmick with a plain nose. Who is that? Said Punchinello. Lucas shrugged. I don't know. Why, that's Mr. Willie. With it, volunteered a Wemmick from behind them. Does he run the nose painting store? Asked Punchinello. More than that, said Wemmick, explained. Painted noses were his idea, so were the square hats, tall shoes, and yellow ears. Now things are his thing. He decided that with it, isn't he the best? Luca and Punchinello took a good look at this tall Wemmick with the deep voice, big smile, tall hat, and green bow tie that marched his oh-so-green nose. This will be my last one, then I'll come back, y'all. Mimic with the deep. Luca and Punchinello took a good look at this tall Wemmick with the deep voice, big smile, tall hat, and green bow tie that matched his oh-so-green nose. Both were thinking the same question. Luca asked it. Who made him the new thing picker? The Wemmick looked puzzled, like he'd never been asked that question. Well, I don't know. He always has. Then his eyes brightened. Wait, oh, here comes a new nose. Oh, said the Wemmicks. Oh, admired some of the others. The just painted Wemmick didn't stop to speak. He just kept his nose in the air and walked past. All the green-nosed Wemmicks did this. After all, how could your nose be seen if it wasn't in the air? Here we go. Walking through high-nosed, however, was risky. Wemmicks walked into walls, doors, even each other. Luca and Pinello had to be very careful. One Wemmick took up the whole street. Step back, he announced. It was the mayor. Make way, every Wemmick. My wife is coming in for a touch-up. With one hand, he waved back the citizens. With the other, he guided her thoughts, the crowd. Horrible, just horrible, she cried, covering her nose with both hands. I chipped some paint when I bumped into a tree. Now the real me is showing. Horrible, just horrible. As the crowd passed, Luca shook his head. Such a fuss over a green nose. Yeah, said Punchinello. You'll never catch me in the nose coloring store. Oh, Punch, I was hoping you'd go. Punchinello realized the voice immediately. Twiggy! He turned and looked at the wide-eyed, sweet-smiling Wemmick. His ears began to turn red. They always did when he saw her. He reached up and covered them. Why don't you paint your nose, Punch? I painted mine. Everyone else has painted theirs. Besides, you look good in green. Twiggy reached up and touched his nose. You're so cute. With that, she turned and walked away. Bye-bye, she waved. Punchinello moved one hand from his ear to his nose. He turned and looked at his reflection in the store window. Luca had to grab his hand to get his attention. Come on, Punchinello, let's go. As he walked past the store, he noticed Willie with it examining his nose in the handheld mirror. Later at home, he did the same. I never noticed before, but my nose sure looks pale. Oh no, he's getting into the habit. The next morning, Punchinello walked down the street with his friend Splint and Wood. Are you really thinking about it? Woody asked. Sort of, Punchinello asked. They say the paint stings your nose, Woody volunteered. And it stinks, Split said. The brush could get in your eyes, Woody continued. And it only comes off with sandpaper, Split nodded. Shh. Punchinello put a finger on his lips and pointed at a large crowd of green-nosed Wimmicks standing in the square. Something's going on. The mayor was standing on the platform, his wife's nose freshly painted, and Willie with it. Where on earth were on the other side? Welcome one and all, the first meeting of the Nosy Wimmicks Club, he announced. Your glistening green sets you apart as a witted Wimmick. As if on cue, Wimmicks began stroking their noses. You are classy. You are keen. You are awesome. You are green. Proud of his property, the mayor smiled, and the Wimmicks applauded. We all owe it to Willie Whitted, he shouted over the noise. The pioneer of the painted snout. Everyone applauded even louder. People love me because of you, he shouted. I have more friends, cried another with a green nose. I'm a better Wemmick, explained a third. The mayor hung a medal around the neck of Willie Whitted. You have changed the face of Wemmicksville. We salute your balance. Without you, we'd all look like. The mayor paused, looking for the right word. Then he saw Punchinello and his friends pointing in their direction. He declared with a scornful laugh, them. Everyone else laughed too. Punchinello and his two friends answered their hands, lowered their heads, and covered their noses. Let's hear it for Willie Whitted, and shouted the mayor and the Wemmick who discovered the cure for the common nose. There it is. As the town's people shouted and applauded, Woody, Splint, and Punchinello quickly turned and walked away. They didn't stop until they stood in front of the nose coloring shop. Within a matter of minutes, all three were painted and walking down Wemmick Lane. Hey, Punchinello, asked Splint, pushing his nose upward. I'm doing it right. Punchinello didn't look. I can't see you, Splint. If I turn, my nose won't be in the air. Phew. This is tough work, Woody asked. Not only do you have to get painted, but you have to walk weird. Yeah, but it doesn't feel great to be with it, Punchinello asked. And for a few days it did. They hung out with other green noses and made weekly visits to the nose crust to a nose cures for a nose polish. They bought nose gloves for cold days, nose umbrellas for rainy ones. All three read Willie Whittett's new book, Winner by a Nose. Most of all, they enjoyed looking down their noses at the unpainted Wimmicks. One day when they were feeling especially smudged, Splint said to Punchinello, I can't imagine who would have a green nose. Punchinello said, anyone without a green nose is so what? A voice interrupted. It was Luca. Punchinello was embarrassed. I haven't seen you in a while, he said. You haven't seen anyone in a long time, she replied. Explain yourself. He started to speak, but he didn't. He was bothered by what she said, and he was even more bothered by what he saw. He saw it the next morning as three were walking into the Wemmicksville. Standing on the other side of the road was a Wemmick with a red nose. He needs to get with it, they said to each other. But then they saw another Wemmick with a red nose, then a third and a fourth. By the time they were in the village, they were surrounded by red noses, Wemmicks, and those noses weren't red in line to have them painted, and those noses weren't red, were in line to have them painted. Uh-oh. Step right up, shouted Willie with it from the steps of his store. Green noses are out, red noses are in. But we just got our noses painted green, they told him. No problem, he said. Our red will cover the green. Step right up, style and great. The three friends looked at each other sadly. We thought we were in style, Woody mentioned. What would they do but they stand in line and have their noses painted red? For a few days they fitted in until one morning they saw blue-nosed Wemmicks. Oh no, they said to each other, not again, so they changed colors, but it was only a short time until blue noses were out and pink noses were in. Then pink was out, yellow was in, yellow was out, orange was in. Oh no. Soon Punchinello and his buddies had so many layers of paint on their noses that they couldn't remember what they'd really look like. This has to be the final color, they said, the day they walked out with orange noses. But once again they were wrong. I'm so tired, Woody moaned when he saw a purple painted Wemmick. I wish my nose was common again. The three sat on a rock, hung their heads. Me too, agreed Punchinello. I would have listened to Eli. You think he would help us? Why don't you ask him? All three turned to the sound of a familiar voice. Luca, they said. He asked about you every day. Is he mad? Punchinello wondered. Sad, but not mad. Punchinello looked up toward Eli's house on the hill. He told me to tell you to come. Eli spoke again. Of course I take my friends, of course. Could I take my friends, of course? Would you go with them? Certainly. And so the four began to walk up the hill to Eli's house. When they reached the top of the hill, Eli stepped out of the workshop and began walking toward them. He met them in the yard. One by one, he examined their noses. Be trying to fit in, huh? Eh? Punchinello nodded. Did you succeed? Not really. Every time we got close, someone changed the rules. That's the way it is. And my neck hurt from sticking my nose in the air, Woody added. You weren't built to walk that way. We want to be ourselves again, Splint said. I'm glad to hear that. Can we? They asked. Of course you can, Eli replied. I'll always help you be who I made you to be. Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out a piece of sandpaper. He began to take some time, and so Punchinello and his friends followed their maker into the workshop, where he spent the rest of the day removing the paint. It hurt to be sanded, but it was worth it to be normal again. The end. The end, guys. We're not finished reading the books, but we'll come back after I charge up my phone. Bye for now.